Have you ever found yourself at the mercy of your own thoughts? Trapped in a cycle of worry, self-doubt, or limitation? You tell yourself to be strong, to push forward, to resist, and yet, the more you try, the deeper the struggle becomes. But what if, from this moment forward, you became the master of that inner voice? What if you whispered words of strength, of healing, of triumph, and believed them? Imagine the possibilities that await when the dialogue within aligns with the life you wish to create. Coué discovered something extraordinary about the mind, that it is not sheer willpower that shapes our destiny, but the quiet, persistent voice of suggestion. He saw this principle at work, not just in theory, but in life. Patients who believed in their recovery healed faster. Those who expected failure stumbled, no matter their efforts. And the key to it all, he realized, was something so subtle, so ever-present, that most of us never truly grasp its power. It is the dialogue between the conscious and the unconscious self. Coué's work reveals a hidden truth. The conscious mind, with all its reasoning and effort, is merely a gatekeeper. The real force, the one that dictates whether we thrive or falter, resides deeper, within the unconscious self. It is this part of us that determines our habits, our fears, our health, our limitations. And more than anything else, it is suggestion that steers its course. Imagine a man walking along a narrow plank placed on the ground. He steps confidently, one foot in front of the other, without hesitation. But now, raise that same plank high into the air, suspend it between two buildings, and ask him to walk again. His ability has not changed. His body is as capable as it was before, and yet his mind, his unconscious self, now fills him with terror. He sees himself falling, and in that moment, his body obeys the image in his mind. His feet tremble, his balance wavers, his fall is almost inevitable. This is the power of suggestion. When you tell yourself, "I must not fall," what does the unconscious mind fear? What does the unconscious mind hear? Fall. It does not grasp the negation. It only visualizes the act itself, and so, no matter how much the conscious mind commands stability, the unconscious mind, which always acts upon the strongest impression, leads the body to obey the image of falling. Now consider this in your own life. How often do you tell yourself, "I must not fail. I must not be afraid. I must not let this anxiety control me"? The very thoughts, the very warnings you repeat, feed the unconscious mind with the exact thing you wish to avoid. Coué understood that brute force, fighting the mind with direct willpower, was like trying to silence an echo by shouting over it. The key was not resistance, but redirection. Instead of saying, "I must not fail," one must plant the simple positive suggestion, "I succeed with ease." Instead of, "I must not be afraid," one must affirm, "I am calm and confident." These are not empty words. The unconscious mind does not respond to logic, nor to hollow affirmations spoken without feeling. It responds to images, to belief, to repetition. It absorbs whatever impression is presented most vividly and consistently. And over time, that impression takes root, shaping behavior, perception, and even physical reality. Coué demonstrated this with extraordinary results. Patients suffering from ailments found relief not through medicine alone, but through the belief instilled in them by repeated suggestion. Day by day, in my own little ways, I am getting better. A phrase so simple, yet so powerful when spoken with conviction. It was not the words themselves that held magic, but the effect they had on the unconscious mind. Think of the mind as a garden. The conscious self is the gardener, choosing which seeds to plant. The unconscious self is the soil, nurturing whatever is sown. If you plant seeds of doubt, of failure, of fear, the soil will not argue. It will simply bring forth a harvest of struggle. But if you plant confidence, success, health, and joy, the soil will nourish those thoughts into reality. Most of us, without realizing it, tend to plant weeds. We replay our worries. We reaffirm our limitations. We allow past failures to dictate future expectations. And the unconscious mind listens, obeys, and manifests those very things into our daily lives. But once we understand this, we hold the power to change. We can uproot the weeds and replace them with what we truly desire. It begins not with force, but with gentle, persistent suggestion. Repetition, Coué taught, is the tool by which the unconscious is shaped. A thought repeated often enough becomes truth to the mind. It requires no great effort to master this principle, only awareness and consistency. Each morning upon waking, and each night before sleeping, the mind is most receptive. These are the moments when suggestion takes deep root. In those quiet moments, a simple phrase repeated with calm assurance can alter the course of a life. If one struggles with self-doubt, the words might be, "I trust myself completely." If plagued by anxiety, "I am at peace, all is well." If seeking success, "I achieve my goals with ease and confidence." The key, as Coué emphasized, is to say these words not with force but with faith, to let them sink in without resistance, and above all, to avoid reinforcing the negative by dwelling on what one does not want. It is easy to dismiss this as mere optimism, as wishful thinking, and yet look around. Every great success, every transformation, every triumph over adversity begins not in action, but in thought. The athlete who sees victory before the race has begun. The patient who believes in recovery before the cure is administered. The individual who envisions their future before it unfolds. The mind, when left unchecked, can be a tyrant. It can trap us in patterns of failure, fear, and frustration. But when we take hold of it, when we guide it, feed it with the right suggestions, it becomes the most powerful ally we could ever have. Coué's discovery was not that suggestion works, but that it is always working. Every thought we entertain, every phrase we repeat, is a suggestion shaping our reality. The question is not whether we are using this power, but whether we are using it wisely. As you listen now, consider the dialogue that runs through your own mind. What suggestions have you planted there? Are they lifting you up or holding you back? And if the latter, what would happen if, starting today, you replaced them with something new? Change does not require struggle. It does not demand force. It begins with something far simpler, the quiet, steady practice of planting the right thoughts, of speaking to the unconscious not as an enemy to be fought, but as a force to be guided. And in time, as Coué promised, the results will come. Not through willpower alone, but through the effortless unfolding of a mind that has finally been set on the right path. For the greatest truth is this: you are already shaping your destiny. The only question is, what are you telling yourself? And if the mind holds such power, if each thought sown in its depths becomes the fabric of reality, then what limits exist at all? Coué invites us to consider a new possibility, that within the mind lies a force greater than circumstance, stronger than habit, and capable of transforming even the most deeply ingrained beliefs. You may think that your willpower is the master of your life, that through sheer determination you can bend circumstances to your will. But will alone is not enough. It struggles, it fights, and all too often it fails. This is because it is not will that governs the mind. It is imagination. Consider this. You sit in a chair, and someone tells you that you cannot stand. You know you can. Your will tells you to rise, but then, with great conviction, they insist, no matter how hard you try, you will not be able to stand. Suddenly, something changes. Your will pushes forward, yet an unseen resistance holds you back. Your body tenses, uncertainty creeps in, and in that moment, the suggestion takes hold. This is the battle between will and imagination. Coué's discovery was simple yet profound. When the will and the imagination are in conflict, imagination always wins. It is not brute force that shapes our destiny, but the images we hold in our minds, the ones we accept as true, whether we realize it or not. This is why so many struggle. They tell themselves they must succeed while secretly picturing failure. They insist they must be brave while imagining the weight of fear. The will may fight, but imagination has already made its decision. A man suffering from sleepless nights may say, "I will sleep tonight, I must sleep tonight." But what is the image behind his words? He sees himself lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with his thoughts. Though he wills sleep, his imagination is locked on wakefulness, and so he does not sleep. Another, facing a great challenge, repeats to himself, "I will not fail, I will not fail." But his mind is filled with images of failure, of stumbling, of falling short, of the disappointment that awaits him. Though his will demands success, his imagination has already dictated his outcome. Coué understood that to change reality, one must not fight against the mind but guide it. Rather than resisting negative thoughts, one must replace them. Instead of commanding oneself to sleep, one must gently suggest, "Sleep comes to me easily and naturally." Instead of, "I must not fail," one must affirm, "I succeed with ease." There is no force in these words, no struggle. They are spoken as simple truths. And because they are accepted without resistance, the imagination embraces them. And what the imagination accepts, the body and mind will obey. Think of a river. It does not fight against the rocks in its path. It does not demand they move. Instead, it flows around them, over them, reshaping the landscape effortlessly over time. This is how suggestion works. Many believe that to change their lives they must struggle, push, and fight against their own nature, but Coué revealed that the secret lies not in force but in direction. A mind that accepts a suggestion fully does not resist, it simply follows. This is why a child, convinced that they are too weak to lift a weight, finds themselves unable to do so. Even when their body is fully capable, their willpower may command their muscles to act, but their imagination holds them back. Yet that same child, convinced that they are strong, may lift it with ease. The body obeys not the will, but the image held in the mind. What then is the lesson? That to truly master oneself, one must master their imagination. Not through pressure, not through persuasion. Coué's method is not about forcing the mind into submission. It is about leading it as one might lead a horse, not with harsh tugs, but with a steady, reassuring hand. If one wishes to cultivate confidence, they do not fight against doubt. They do not say, "I must not be afraid." Instead, they gently affirm, "I am calm, I am confident, I feel at ease." These words are not barked as orders, they are whispered as truths, and over time they take root. The key is repetition, not through struggle but through rhythm. Like the tides that shape the shore, a thought, when repeated with quiet assurance, begins to reshape the mind, and the mind, once convinced, reshapes reality. Those who embrace this principle often find that change comes not in a dramatic wave, but in a quiet transformation. A once fearful person wakes one morning to find that their nerves no longer grip them so tightly. A once doubtful mind begins to trust in success without knowing exactly when the shift occurred. It is not a sudden battle won, but a gentle turning of the tide. The greatest changes in life often happen not through force, but through the quiet acceptance of a new reality. And suggestion, persistent, calm, unwavering, is the bridge between thought and transformation. Coué's work reveals a truth many overlook. The mind is always taking suggestions. Every thought, every repeated phrase, every internal dialogue is shaping one's experience. The question is not whether suggestion works, but whether one is using it consciously or unconsciously. A person who constantly tells themselves, "I never have enough time," will find their days slipping away in chaos. Another who believes, "I am always fortunate with time," will discover opportunities unfolding with ease. It is not magic, it is the natural law of the mind at work. What then would happen if you choose your suggestions carefully? If instead of reinforcing struggle, you planted thoughts of ease? If, rather than battling fear, you quietly affirmed confidence? Would your world not begin to change? To dominate one's life is not to exert force over every moment, nor to fight against one's own nature. It is to guide the mind gently, consistently, in the direction one wishes to go. It is to recognize that imagination, not will, is the architect of reality. And so, the true path to mastery is not through resistance, but through understanding. Not through struggle, but through quiet persuasion. One does not overcome the mind by force, but by leading it with the right suggestions, repeated with calm assurance, until they are no longer mere words, but undeniable truths. This is the art of conscious autosuggestion, the simple, undeniable law that what the mind believes, the body will follow, and what the imagination embraces, life will reflect. So as you step forward from this moment, consider this. What thoughts are you feeding your mind? What suggestions are shaping your days? And if they do not serve you, what would happen if you replaced them, quietly, gently, persistently, with the thoughts you truly wish to see reflected in your life? Perhaps without force, without struggle, you will find that your mind, like the river, begins to flow effortlessly toward the reality you desire. And in that quiet, unwavering current, you will discover that change is not a matter of struggle, but of alignment. Of attuning your inner vision to the life you wish to live, and allowing that vision to guide you forward, step by step, thought by thought, until it becomes your reality. But what is the source of this quiet power? What gives suggestion its potency, enabling it to shape thought, action, and even the circumstances of life? To understand this, one must look beyond the surface of the mind and into the depths of its origin. The mind is a world unto itself, teeming with whispers of thoughts that shape the very fabric of our lives. Some thoughts lift us to great heights, while others entangle us in unseen chains. What if we could master this invisible force? What if we could plant the seeds of success, of healing, of certainty, and watch them grow in the fertile soil of our subconscious? This is the essence of what Coué sought to uncover, and in his exploration of suggestion and autosuggestion, he revealed the power that lies within every mind. To understand how to dominate our minds, we must first acknowledge a simple truth. Every idea, every notion, every whisper of thought that takes root within us is the product of suggestion. We are constantly being shaped by the suggestions of those around us, the spoken words of others, the attitudes they express, the atmosphere they create. More importantly, we are shaped by the suggestions we give ourselves. These are what Coué called autosuggestions, and they are the silent architects of our fate. Suggestion is everywhere. It is present in every conversation, in every gesture, in every glance exchanged between individuals. It does not require logic, nor does it depend upon our willpower. In fact, suggestion operates independently of the will. This is a key discovery in Coué's work, one that overturns the traditional belief that willpower alone can dictate the course of our minds. He explains that when the will and the imagination come into conflict, it is always the imagination that prevails. Always. Consider this. If one were to walk across a narrow plank placed firmly on the ground, they would do so with ease. But place that same plank high above the ground, stretched between two rooftops, and the body hesitates. The will commands, I must walk across, but the imagination interjects, what if I fall? And in that moment, the imagination overpowers the will. The person hesitates, falters, and perhaps even freezes entirely. This is the undeniable rule. The stronger thought always wins, and the mind obeys what it believes, not what it wills. This is why mere determination is often not enough to change one's life. One may exert all their willpower to banish a fear, to overcome a habit, to fight against an ailment, but if deep within the imagination harbours doubt, then doubt will reign. Here we see the incredible power of suggestion in shaping reality. What we repeatedly tell ourselves, whether consciously or unconsciously, sets the boundaries of what is possible. If suggestion has such power over us, then what happens when we learn to wield it consciously? This is the secret Coué uncovered. Autosuggestion is a force that can either work against us or work for us, and we hold the key to directing its course. We already practice autosuggestion every day, but often to our detriment. The individual who constantly thinks, I am weak, I cannot do this, I always fail, is reinforcing a reality through repeated suggestion. Without realizing it, they are feeding the subconscious a command, one that the subconscious mind, ever obedient, seeks to fulfill. The mind does not question, it simply accepts and executes. Coué's method then is to replace these unhelpful suggestions with deliberate, constructive ones. Instead of allowing negative autosuggestions to dictate one's reality, one must implant affirmations that serve their best interest. A simple repeated phrase, spoken with conviction, has the power to take root in the subconscious and manifest outwardly. One might wonder, why does repetition matter? Why not say an autosuggestion once and be done with it? The answer lies in how the mind absorbs and integrates beliefs. Just as the body does not become strong with a single day of exercise, the mind does not immediately accept a new suggestion unless it is reinforced through repetition. The phrase Coué recommended, "Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better," was not chosen at random. It was carefully crafted to encompass all aspects of well-being, and it is to be repeated morning and night with calmness and certainty. The act of repetition impresses the subconscious, much like carving an inscription into stone, deepening with each stroke. It is not necessary to exert willpower while doing this. In fact, effort is counterproductive. One need only repeat the suggestion in a relaxed state, allowing the words to seep into the subconscious like ink into parchment. When done correctly, the mind begins to act upon the suggestion, turning belief into reality. But what if I do not believe my own auto-suggestions? What if my mind resists? Coué acknowledged this hesitation, and he reassured that belief is not a prerequisite, only practice is. The subconscious does not require conviction to be influenced, it only requires consistency. In time, what is repeatedly suggested will be accepted, and what is accepted will become true. Many who have followed this practice have found that over time, their thoughts shift naturally. Where once there was doubt, there is now confidence. Where once there was struggle, there is now ease. The internal landscape changes not through force, but through the gentle, persistent shaping of auto-suggestion. One of the most profound applications of auto-suggestion is in the realm of health. Coué, who worked extensively with patients suffering from various ailments, observed that those who reinforced thoughts of healing and strength often experienced remarkable recoveries. The body follows the mind, and when the mind is instructed to heal, the body responds in kind. Many who came to him seeking relief found that by changing their inner narrative from "I am ill, I am weak" to "I am improving, my body is restoring itself," they could accelerate their healing in ways that defied conventional understanding. This was not magic, nor was it mere optimism. It was the undeniable power of the mind directing the body toward health. To dominate one's life is not about struggle, nor is it about force. It is about mastery over the mind's suggestions. The world is filled with voices, some uplifting, some limiting. But the voice that matters most is the one within. If we allow it to speak words of encouragement, of progress, of certainty, then it will lead us steadily toward the life we seek. Coué did not offer a complicated method. He offered a truth so simple that many overlook it. We are constantly shaping our own reality through the thoughts we permit to take hold. And if we learn to guide this process consciously, then we unlock a force greater than willpower, greater than external circumstances, a force that resides within us at all times. The mind is a vessel that carries us forward, but we are the ones who steer it. With each day, with each thought, we are writing the story of our lives. The question is, who is doing the writing? If we leave it to chance, we allow the winds of random suggestion to dictate our course, but if we take hold of the pen, if we write with intention, then the narrative becomes ours to shape. The secret to self-mastery lies not in struggle, but in understanding. Not in force, but in direction. And when we learn to guide our thoughts, we learn to guide our destiny. This is the lesson of auto-suggestion. This is the path to true mastery of the mind, and it is a path open to all who dare to walk it. But what is it that truly propels us forward on this path? What force turns thought into reality, shaping the course of our lives with quiet, unwavering certainty? In the quiet chambers of the mind, where thoughts emerge and take root, there lies auto-suggestion. Coué did not stumble upon this force by chance. He studied it, refined it, and uncovered its remarkable power to shape human destiny. He moves beyond the mere concept of suggestion and delves into its active application, how to wield this force deliberately to transform one's reality. Autosuggestion is not a vague idea, it is a precise mechanism, a tool that, when used correctly, places mastery of life within one's grasp. But how does one use it? How does one ensure that the mind listens and accepts the suggestions it is given? At every moment of our waking lives, thoughts rise and fall within the mind. Some are fleeting, others persistent. Some thoughts we invite, others intrude unbidden. The challenge, as Coué saw it, was to take command of this process, to plant thoughts with intention, ensuring they take root deeply within the unconscious. He likens autosuggestion to a seed. A seed, when placed in fertile soil and tended with care, grows strong and bears fruit. But a seed left unattended or planted in poor conditions withers before it ever reaches its full potential. The mind is the soil, the suggestion is the seed. The conditions? They are determined by how we introduce the thought, how we reinforce it, and how we clear away any obstacles that may prevent it from flourishing. Coué emphasizes repetition not as a mindless chant, but as a means of engraving belief into the unconscious mind. The mind, when presented with an idea frequently and consistently, begins to accept it as truth. This is how habits form, this is how identity is shaped, and this is how transformation begins. To make autosuggestion effective, Coué teaches a simple yet profound principle. State your desired thought with certainty, and repeat it with conviction. Say it in the morning, say it at night, say it as often as you can, until it becomes an unshakable presence within you. The words we choose, the tone we use, and the belief we attach to them, these determine the success of the suggestion. The mind does not differentiate between reality and imagination. A vividly imagined scenario can stir the emotions just as powerfully as an actual experience. Coué urges us to use this to our advantage. When planting a suggestion, visualize it as though it were already real. Let it live within you. Let it unfold in detail. Let it occupy your mental space so completely that the unconscious mind has no choice but to accept it as truth. If one were to say, every day in every way I am getting better and better, and accompany this thought with a deep-seated belief and a rich mental image of success, the mind would absorb it. The unconscious, which governs so much of our behavior and well-being, would adopt it as a directive, and once adopted, it begins to manifest in reality. However, Coué warns that for autosuggestion to work, the mind must be receptive. Doubt, contradiction, or opposing beliefs act as barriers. If one tries to impose a suggestion while simultaneously entertaining disbelief, the suggestion loses its power. The unconscious will not accept an idea it perceives as uncertain. To truly benefit from autosuggestion, one must create mental clarity. Negative thoughts must be identified and gently released. The mind must be trained to focus on the positive, to accept possibility, and to reject limitation. This is not wishful thinking, it is disciplined mental cultivation. Just as a gardener removes weeds to protect their crops, we must remove doubts to protect our autosuggestions. Coué does not leave his readers with theory alone, he provides practical guidance on applying autosuggestion in daily life. He recommends a simple yet powerful practice. Each morning and each evening, in a calm and relaxed state, repeat a positive affirmation. Do so in a way that is effortless, as though it were a natural truth. For those struggling with health, he advises affirming wellness. For those seeking confidence, he suggests reinforcing self-belief. Whatever the need, the approach remains the same. Repeat the thought gently, consistently, and with unwavering faith in its truth. Many who practice autosuggestion expect immediate transformation, but Coué explains that change often arrives quietly, A thought repeated daily does not necessarily explode into being overnight. Rather, it sinks into the unconscious, working beneath the surface, subtly reshaping attitudes, decisions, and perceptions. One morning, the practitioner of autosuggestion may wake and find that fear has loosened its grip. Another day, they may notice a confidence that was once absent. And then, without realizing exactly when or how, they will see that they have become the person they had been suggesting themselves to be. The power to dominate one's life through autosuggestion is not about force, it is about alignment. It is about understanding how the mind operates and working with its natural tendencies, rather than against them. Coué reminds us that willpower alone is insufficient. The unconscious mind does not respond to brute force, it responds to gentle persuasion, to consistency, to images and ideas repeated until they become truth. The key to mastery, then, is not in battling the mind, but in guiding it, in choosing thoughts with care, reinforcing them with belief, and trusting in the process. Autosuggestion is not a trick. It is not a fleeting technique. It is a lifelong practice, a way of directing the mind so that it may, in turn, direct life itself. Yet, there is an even deeper layer to this process. Coué suggests that when autosuggestion is truly integrated, it becomes second nature. It no longer requires force or even conscious effort. The mind begins to sustain itself on positive reinforcement. Much like a well-nourished tree continues to grow even when the gardener is not tending to it every moment. This is the pinnacle of self-mastery, when the conscious and unconscious align so seamlessly that success, health, and well-being flow naturally without resistance. But this mastery requires patience. The modern world, filled with instant gratification, tempts us to seek immediate results. When people do not see immediate change, they often abandon the practice. Coué cautions against this impatience. True transformation happens not in a single moment, but over time, through consistent and devoted effort. Consider the great artists, musicians, and athletes of history. None achieved mastery in a day. They honed their skills with relentless practice, refining their craft over years. Autosuggestion follows the same principle. It must be cultivated with dedication, becoming a seamless part of one's thought process. When this happens, even the most deeply ingrained negative beliefs begin to dissolve. This process is not limited to individuals. Societies too are shaped by suggestion. The beliefs we absorb from culture, family, and history influence the way we perceive ourselves. Many struggle with limiting thoughts instilled in them by external voices of authority, education, or societal norms, but Coué reminds us that we are not prisoners of these suggestions. We have the power to reshape them, to replace them with new, empowering beliefs. With conscious auto-suggestion, the future is no longer dictated by chance or external forces. It is shaped by thought, by belief, and by the quiet, persistent repetition of the truth one chooses to live by. Thus, Coué leaves us with a question. What thoughts will you choose? What truths will you plant within the fertile soil of your mind? And more importantly, how will you nurture them so that they may flourish into the reality you seek? For the answers to these questions will define not only your present, but the entire course of your life. And yet, it is not enough to master the art of autosuggestion for oneself. True mastery lies in the ability to teach it, to help others wield its power, to show them how to use it, and most importantly, to ensure that they do so effectively. Coué does not merely provide a set of instructions, he unveils the very essence of how one mind can influence another. How belief can be passed like a flame from one candle to the next, igniting the light of self-mastery in all who are willing to embrace it. Before one can teach autosuggestion, one must first embody its principles entirely. The teacher must not merely believe in the method, they must live it, for belief is contagious. When one speaks with conviction, when one radiates an unshakable certainty, those listening cannot help but absorb it. Coué understood this deeply. He knew that a teacher's own faith in autosuggestion was the foundation upon which a student's success would rest. Doubt is the greatest destroyer of all suggestion. If a teacher harbours even the slightest uncertainty, it will be sensed, and the power of the lesson will crumble. This is why Coué insists that, before instructing another, one must practice autosuggestion until its truth is no longer questioned. It must be as natural as breathing, as automatic as the beating of the heart. Only then can the teacher transmit it, with the authority needed to inspire confidence in others. To guide another in the practice of autosuggestion is not to impose an idea upon them. It is not to command, nor to demand faith. Rather, it is to lead them to discover the truth for themselves. This, Coué explains, is the only way that autosuggestion can take root in the unconscious mind of the student. A forced belief is no belief at all. Only a thought willingly accepted can shape reality. How does one accomplish this? Through the gentle planting of ideas, through subtle persuasion, rather than force. Coué describes this as a delicate process, one in which the teacher must speak not to the conscious mind, which questions and doubts, but to the deeper, more suggestible layers of thought. The words chosen must be simple, clear, and above all, positive. They must affirm what is desired, not deny what is feared. For the unconscious mind does not process negation, it absorbs only the essence of what is spoken to it. Thus, to tell a student, "You are no longer weak," is ineffective, for the unconscious will seize upon the word weak. But to say, "You are growing stronger every day," is to provide a suggestion that builds upon itself, growing in power with each repetition. This is the essence of guiding thought, the careful construction of words that shape reality rather than contradict it. Coué makes it clear that a simple suggestion is rarely enough to create lasting change. The unconscious mind, though impressionable, is like a riverbed. One wave will not alter its course, but a steady stream will carve through rock. To truly instill belief in another, one must emphasize repetition. A student must be taught not only to speak their autosuggestion, but to do so with rhythm and consistency. Morning and night, they must repeat their phrase, not as an empty mantra, but as a living truth. The words must not be recited mechanically, but with feeling, with the full expectation that what is spoken will come to pass. This is where many fail. They speak the words, but in the back of their mind, they doubt. The teacher's role, then, is to help them bridge this gap, not by insisting upon blind faith, but by encouraging them to observe the small changes that take place. The tiniest shift in their thoughts, their emotions, their actions, each of these is proof that the suggestion is working. And with each proof, belief strengthens, until it becomes an unshakable certainty. Coué understood that many who attempt autosuggestion fail because they resist it without realizing it. They may say the words, but internally they argue against them. They allow old habits to interfere, preventing the new belief from taking hold. This is why a teacher must do more than instruct. They must uncover and eliminate the hidden obstacles that stand in the student's way. These obstacles often take the form of ingrained doubts, post-failures, or deep-seated fears. To remove them, the teacher must first help the student recognize them, for one cannot fight an enemy that remains unseen. Once identified, these mental barriers must be countered, not with force, but with understanding. A student who fears failure must be reminded of their past successes, however small. One who doubts their ability to change must be shown how change has already begun within them. In this way, resistance is transformed into acceptance and acceptance into belief. Yet the responsibility of a teacher does not end with instruction alone. They must cultivate an environment where growth is encouraged, where the student feels not only capable of change but safe to explore it. The mind, much like the body, thrives best when nurtured in the right conditions. A teacher must become both a guide and a guardian, offering encouragement when needed, challenging limiting beliefs when necessary, and above all, reinforcing the student's faith in their own ability to transform. Coué describes the profound moment when a student first experiences the true power of autosuggestion. It is not always immediate. Sometimes it comes as a slow realization, an awareness that something has shifted. Other times it arrives in an instant, a sudden clarity, a spark of understanding that illuminates everything. For some, it is the first time they feel a genuine sense of control over their thoughts. For others, it is the moment they notice an effortless change in behavior, a newfound confidence, a fading of an old fear. Whatever form it takes, this moment is the turning point, the instant when belief ceases to be an idea and becomes a reality. The teacher's role is to bring their student to this threshold, to guide them toward this realization, and once they have crossed it, the student is no longer merely a learner. They are a practitioner. They have taken their first step toward true self-mastery. Coué does not stop with the individual. He recognizes that those who master autosuggestion will in turn pass it on to others. Just as they were guided, so too will they become guides. This is the natural order of things, the expansion of knowledge, the spread of self-mastery from one mind to another. In this way, the teacher's influence extends far beyond the student before them. Every person they instruct carries the seed of transformation to countless others, setting in motion a chain of influence that ripples outward, shaping the world itself. In the end, to dominate one's mind through conscious autosuggestion is not merely a personal victory. It is a responsibility, a gift to be shared. The power to reshape thought, to rewrite belief, to create a reality of one's own choosing, this is not something to be hoarded. It is something to be given freely, to be taught with care, so that all may walk the path of self-mastery. And so questions arise in our mind. Who will you teach? Who will you guide toward this understanding? For in the act of teaching, we not only strengthen the minds of others, we solidify our own mastery, ensuring that the power of autosuggestion continues to illuminate the world, one mind at a time. However, autosuggestion, when practiced with awareness and precision, does not act in isolation. It moves through the corridors of the mind, unlocking doors that had long remained closed, allowing the individual to take command of their reality. Yet, the question remains, how does one truly apply it? How does one turn words into influence, and influence into lasting change? To wield autosuggestion effectively, one must first understand the relationship between the conscious and the unconscious mind. Coué describes the conscious mind as the surface of the water, active, restless, subject to the winds of daily experience. Beneath it, however, lies the vast, still ocean of the unconscious. It is here that autosuggestion takes root, where ideas implanted with care grow into the truths that govern one's being. But this process is not automatic. The mind, left untended, absorbs both the beneficial and the destructive without discernment. Thus, the method of curative suggestion is not merely about introducing thoughts, it is about directing them with intent, ensuring that what enters the unconscious is only that which serves and strengthens. For suggestion to take hold, it must be embraced not with hesitation but with certainty. Doubt is the enemy of influence. If one were to repeat a thought while simultaneously entertaining disbelief, the unconscious mind rejects it, leaving it as an unfulfilled whisper rather than a command. Coué emphasizes that the most powerful suggestions are those spoken with the quiet assurance of truth, not forced, not strained, but allowed to settle naturally, like a seed drifting into fertile soil. To practice this, one must cultivate an attitude of inner trust, an acceptance that the mind, when guided with clarity, will follow the direction it is given. A crucial element in the method of curative suggestion is the state in which it is practiced. The mind, constantly engaged in the movement of daily life, does not easily absorb new directives. It is in moments of relaxation, when the body is at ease and the mind is open, that autosuggestion finds its strongest foothold. Coué advises that the ideal time for suggestion is at the threshold of wakefulness and sleep, when the mind hovers between awareness and surrender. In this state, the barriers of the conscious mind weaken, allowing suggestion to pass through unobstructed into the deeper layers of thought. This is where transformation begins, where words cease to be mere utterances and become the blueprints of reality. Just as the sculptor's chisel does not create with a single stroke but with countless deliberate movements, so too does autosuggestion shape the mind through repetition. A thought impressed upon the unconscious once may ripple for a moment, but a thought repeated with consistency becomes a current, directing the flow of inner belief. Yet Coué warns against mechanical repetition. It is not the quantity of words but the quality of conviction that determines their effect. Each suggestion must be uttered as though it were a certainty, spoken not merely from the lips but from the depths of understanding. The unconscious mind does not respond to complexity. It does not analyze, question, or debate. It simply accepts. Thus, the method of curative suggestion relies on clarity and simplicity. A phrase, to be effective, must be unambiguous and direct. Coué demonstrates this through his famous affirmation, "Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better." It is not a plea, nor a demand, it is a statement of certainty, designed to bypass the conscious mind's resistance and speak directly to the unconscious. In its simplicity lies its power, for the mind does not hesitate before a truth that requires no explanation. For suggestion to take root, the soil of the mind must be free of obstruction. Negative beliefs, lingering doubts, and conflicting thoughts act as barriers, preventing new ideas from settling. Coué instructs that before one introduces a new suggestion, the mind must first be made ready to receive it. This does not mean engaging in struggle. Resistance only strengthens that which one seeks to overcome. Instead, it means gently redirecting thought, turning away from that which weakens and toward that which strengthens. In doing so, one clears the way for suggestion to do its work without interference. Coué observed that the unconscious mind is deeply influenced not only by words but by the sensations that accompany them. A suggestion spoken with feeling carries a weight that a neutral phrase does not. Thus, he emphasizes the importance of engaging the senses in the practice of autosuggestion. To declare wellness while feeling burdened with doubt weakens the effect, but to speak words of strength while cultivating the feeling of strength within the body creates alignment. This is where true transformation occurs, not in words alone, but in the fusion of thought and experience. Transformation through autosuggestion is not an abrupt event. It is a quiet unfolding. Just as the seed does not burst into bloom the moment it is planted, so too does the mind require time to reshape itself around new beliefs. Coué reassures that persistence is the key. The mind, through repetition and trust, begins to shift in ways that may not be immediately visible. Then one day, without knowing precisely when the change occurred, one finds that they have become what they have been suggesting themselves to be. But autosuggestion is not confined to words alone. The images we hold in our minds, the visions we entertain daily, play a role just as significant. Coué encourages the use of visualization, for the unconscious is deeply receptive to imagery. When one not only speaks an affirmation but sees it vividly in the mind's eye, the suggestion becomes all the more compelling. Moreover, belief is the lifeblood of autosuggestion. Words spoken without belief are like seeds scattered upon stone. They cannot take root. To believe in the possibility of change is to water the soil, to create the conditions in which the unconscious mind can flourish under the direction of one's will. To dominate one's mind through conscious autosuggestion is not to force it into submission, but to guide it with wisdom. Coué's method is not one of battle, but of harmony. The unconscious is not an enemy to be conquered. It is a force to be directed, a wellspring of power that, when aligned with the right suggestions, transforms the individual from within. Those who embrace this method do not merely use words, they shape their reality. They step beyond the confines of circumstance and take hold of the quiet power that resides within them. With each thought deliberately placed, they weave the fabric of their future, ensuring that the path ahead is not left to chance, but crafted by intent. The mastery of autosuggestion does not belong to the select few, nor does it require innate talent. It is a faculty accessible to all who choose to wield it. The question is not whether autosuggestion works, but whether one will use it with purpose. And so, as one stands at the edge of possibility, the question remains, what will you choose to tell yourself? For in that choice lies the key to mastery, to freedom, and to the unshakable dominion of the mind. But mastery is not merely about choosing the right thoughts, it is about sustaining them. It is about ensuring that the seeds of suggestion once planted are nurtured rather than abandoned. Coué demonstrates why it works, why it surpasses mere willpower, and why it stands as a beacon of hope for those who wish to master their minds. To understand this superiority, one must first consider what sets autosuggestion apart from other methods of self-improvement. Many have relied on brute force, on sheer willpower, to change their habits, overcome their ailments, or instill discipline in their lives. They have been told to resist, to fight, to struggle against their own thoughts and impulses. But Coué, in this wisdom, illuminates a flaw in this approach. Willpower, he explains, is often at odds with the imagination. A man who says, "I must not be afraid," is invoking fear even as he utters the words. A person who declares, "I will not fail," plants the very seed of failure in their mind. This is the great paradox. Resistance fuels that which it seeks to overcome, and so Coué introduces a method that does not resist, but rather redirects. Instead of a battle, autosuggestion is a quiet and profound reconditioning of the mind. What makes it superior? The answer is both simple and revolutionary. It aligns the conscious and the subconscious, ensuring that they work as one. Where other methods force one to wrestle with the mind, autosuggestion teaches one to guide it effortlessly. The secret lies in suggestion itself, the repeated, gentle planting of ideas, allowing them to take root and grow within the subconscious. A person who tells themselves each day, "Every day, in every way I am getting better and better," is not merely reciting words, they are shaping a belief so deeply that it becomes an undeniable truth. The superiority of autosuggestion is also found in its accessibility. One does not need wealth, privilege, or external validation to wield its power. There is no dependence on another, no external force dictating success or failure. It is a method that places control squarely in the hands of the individual. No expensive treatments, no elaborate rituals, only the discipline to feed the mind the right suggestions. Consider for a moment the struggles that often plague the human condition. Anxiety, self-doubt, physical ailments that seem beyond control. Traditional methods tell a person to fight, to suppress the anxiety, to conquer the self-doubt, to battle the ailments. But Coué reveals that struggle is often the very thing that cements these conditions in place. Autosuggestion bypasses struggle entirely. It does not engage in battle, it rewrites the script. Instead of, "I must not be anxious," one says, "Calmness flows through me with ease." Instead of thinking of failing, one says, "Success follows me wherever I go." Instead of, "I must be strong," one says, "Strength is my nature." With repetition, these suggestions cease to be mere words, they become realities. The subconscious mind, unable to distinguish between what is imagined and what is real, accepts these truths and manifests them outwardly. Another key reason for the superiority of autosuggestion is its ability to work in harmony with natural psychological processes. The mind absorbs beliefs unconsciously, often without our awareness. A child, for instance, who is constantly told they are intelligent and capable, carries that belief into adulthood. Likewise, a person who repeatedly hears they are inadequate or unworthy internalizes those ideas, often struggling against them for years. Autosuggestion gives an individual the ability to take charge of this process, to deliberately and systematically replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. But there is a condition to its success: belief. Coué does not claim that autosuggestion works through blind optimism. It is not a matter of forcing oneself to believe what feels false. Rather, it is about allowing belief to develop naturally through repetition and acceptance. When an idea is gently introduced to the mind again and again, resistance fades, and it becomes second nature. Moreover, autosuggestion does not merely alter thought, it alters physiology. Coué presents case after case of individuals who, through the consistent application of suggestion, have witnessed profound changes in their health. Pain, illness, fatigue, these have been alleviated not through medical intervention alone, but through the mind's remarkable ability to influence the body. The subconscious mind governs countless physiological functions, from heartbeat to digestion, from muscle tension to immune response. And so, when it is told with unwavering certainty that healing is taking place, the body responds in kind. Autosuggestion's superiority is thus found in its breadth. It is not confined to a single domain. It is not merely a tool for confidence or motivation. It is a method for reshaping reality at every level: mental, emotional, and physical. Unlike fleeting bursts of motivation, which fade as quickly as they arise, autosuggestion ingrains change at the deepest level of the mind. It is not dependent on moods or external circumstances. It operates independently, like a well-oiled machine. This is why autosuggestion is often misunderstood. People expect immediate results, and when they do not see an instant transformation, they abandon the practice. But autosuggestion is not a miracle, it is a process. Like planting a seed, it requires patience. One cannot force a tree to grow overnight, but by nourishing it daily, the growth becomes inevitable. The mind, much like the soil, absorbs what is given and reflects it in due time. Consider the stories of individuals who have employed autosuggestion to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. The athlete who shattered records, not by gritting his teeth in defiance of pain, but by repeatedly telling himself that his body was powerful and resilient. The entrepreneur who turned failure into success, not by dwelling on losses, but by affirming daily that opportunities would come his way. The patient who recovered from illness, not by resigning to fate, but by instilling in the subconscious the unwavering belief in healing. These are not coincidences. They are the results of a method that harnesses the mind's most natural tendencies. It does not fight against fear, illness, or doubt. It gently dissolves them by introducing new, empowering realities. It is a method rooted in the understanding that the subconscious mind does not argue. It simply accepts what it is told, often enough. Coué's method does not promise immediate transformation, but it does promise certainty. Given time and commitment, the mind will adapt, and the external world will shift in response. What once seemed impossible becomes effortless. What once felt beyond control becomes second nature, and this, above all, is why autosuggestion reigns superior. It is not a battle. It is a gentle yet undeniable shift. It is not resistance. It is alignment. And when one truly grasps its power, they no longer seek control over the mind. They become the master of it. Each day, in every way, they grow stronger, wiser, freer. Not through force, not through struggle, but through the quiet and unstoppable power of suggestion. Yet mastery of the mind is not achieved in a single moment. It is a process, a steady unfolding of awareness and intention. And as one deepens their understanding, a new realization emerges. Suggestion is not only a tool for shaping one's own life, but also for influencing the world around them. Suggestion is not merely a whisper from another, a casual remark planted in our consciousness. It is the force behind all conviction, the quiet architect of habits and character. It operates in shadows, invisible yet undeniable, governing the body, influencing our emotions, guiding the will. A belief once installed in the mind commands the whole being to follow its decree. Whether that belief arises by chance or by conscious design, that is where true mastery begins. Coué speaks of the physician's role in demonstrating this law. A doctor who instills confidence in a patient may heal beyond the limits of medicine itself. The mere certainty that one is improving often accelerates the process. But why limit such a force to the hands of another? Why not claim it for oneself? To dominate the mind is to understand that we are constantly under the sway of suggestion, whether external or internal, and to choose the suggestions that serve us. Consider the simplest demonstration of this power, an arm raised against one's will. The conscious mind commands it to lower, yet if the subconscious believes it must stay lifted, no force of will can make it fall. In such a case, the stronger idea prevails. The conscious mind may argue, but the subconscious, accepting what it deems true, will always triumph. What follows is an inescapable realization: our thoughts dictate our reality, but only the thoughts truly believed. This principle operates without exception. If one believes beyond all doubt that sleep will come easily, the body complies without hesitation. If instead doubt arises, "What if I cannot sleep?" the very fear ensures wakefulness. The mechanism of the mind obeys suggestion with absolute fidelity. Thus, it is not effort that commands the mind, but belief, and belief is built through repeated suggestion. Coué reveals a method to ensure the desired suggestion takes root. It is not force, nor is it strain, but gentle repetition spoken with conviction, yet without tension. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. This phrase, when accepted without resistance, imprints itself upon the subconscious, setting in motion unseen processes that align with its truth. The body, the mind, and the spirit conform to the suggestion not by struggle, but by the quiet inevitability of belief. But one might ask, why do some fail? Why, when repeating affirmations, do doubts persist, results falter? The answer is simple. The suggestion has not been truly received. The conscious mind may say the words, but if the subconscious rejects them, no transformation occurs. For a suggestion to take hold, it must be effortless, accepted without force. The moment one tries to convince, the very attempt introduces doubt, and doubt is the destroyer of suggestion. Thus, the path to mastering one's mind is not in demanding belief, but in crafting it gently, consistently, as one shapes soft clay. The words spoken to the subconscious mind must be chosen with care, repeated with ease, and left to settle without interference. One does not dig up a seed to see if it grows. One plants it, waters it, and allows nature to take its course. Coué does not merely present theory, he offers proof. Patients who could not walk found themselves rising from their chairs, not through sudden miracles, but through the steady reprogramming of belief. The mind, once it accepts an idea as truth, makes it so. A body failing under illness is often responding not just to disease, but to the suggestion that it cannot heal. Reverse that suggestion and the body's innate powers awaken. This truth extends beyond health. Confidence, skill, happiness, each is but a reflection of the suggestions impressed upon the mind. The man who doubts himself will falter, not because he lacks ability, but because his subconscious obeys his doubt. The woman who believes she will fail will find failure, not because she is incapable, but because her belief has set failure in motion. The mind shapes reality, not in the mystical sense, but through the ceaseless machinery of thought, reinforcing itself. Imagine a musician who approaches the piano with the belief that he is incapable of playing well. His hands may be trained, his knowledge complete, yet the suggestion of failure lingers, and so he falters. Contrast this with a musician who, even in uncertainty, plants the suggestion, I play with confidence and ease. Over time, as the mind accepts the idea, his performance transforms. The same applies to athletes, scholars, and anyone striving for mastery. The mind is an instrument that plays whatever tune is most deeply impressed upon it. If one wishes to dominate life, to command the self with certainty, there is but one path. Become the master of the suggestions received. Guard the mind against harmful beliefs, against words spoken in carelessness that seep into the subconscious unnoticed. Choose instead the words, the ideas, the truths that uplift and empower. Repeat them, not as a chore, but as a quiet melody running through the mind. In doing so, one does not wrestle with the mind but guides it, as one steers a ship with the gentlest touch upon the wheel. One of the most remarkable aspects of autosuggestion is its power to change emotional states. Consider a person overwhelmed by anxiety, certain that they are doomed to failure. If they repeat, "I am calm, I am confident," the words alone may feel empty at first, but with patient repetition, the suggestion sinks in and the emotional landscape shifts. The breath deepens, the muscles relax, and the subconscious, persuaded of its new reality, aligns the body and emotions accordingly. What began as mere words becomes lived experience. Furthermore, the law of suggestion is at work in every social interaction. A leader who speaks with conviction influences others not by force, but by the silent transmission of belief. A parent who reassures a frightened child does so not merely with words, but with the unshakable certainty that the child is safe. The energy of belief is contagious. Whether one realizes it or not, suggestion is constantly shaping the thoughts and feelings of those around us. Coué offers more than knowledge. He offers a key, a formula, a practice that when applied transforms. The world does not change, yet to the one who masters autosuggestion, everything is different. Strength replaces weakness, certainty replaces doubt, and the once uncontrollable forces of the mind yield at last to the gentle mastery of belief. Thus the challenge is set before us. Will we allow suggestion to shape us blindly, accepting whatever thoughts chance brings? Or will we seize the reins, choosing with intention the truths that define our lives? The power is within us, always has been, and now with Coué's wisdom, we see the way to wield it. Master the art of suggestion and you master the mind. Master the mind and you master life itself. But mastery is not achieved through knowledge alone. It must be practiced, lived, and made a habit as natural as breathing. Coué reveals autosuggestion's remarkable ability not just to heal, but to transform the very core of who you are. This is not about mere positive thinking. It is about accessing a power that reshapes the mind and body alike, a power that can undo what seems unchangeable. The mind carries its burdens, invisible wounds inflicted by experience, circumstance, or inheritance. Some find themselves shackled by traits they did not choose, tendencies passed down through generations or imprinted upon them in youth. Others bear the weight of moral struggles, habits they regret, compulsions they cannot shake. To these individuals, change feels distant, as though they are bound to their afflictions. But Coué offers a way out, not through force of will, not through struggle, but through the gentle and persistent shaping of the mind's landscape. This method is conscious autosuggestion, a technique that reaches beyond surface thoughts into the depths of the unconscious where true transformation begins. To understand why it works, one must first accept a fundamental truth. The unconscious mind does not reason as the conscious mind does. It does not analyze, compare, or question, it simply accepts. And once it has accepted an idea, it brings it to life with unrelenting certainty. This is why people remain ensnared in self-destructive habits. They have unknowingly planted the seed of failure within their own unconscious. The mind, obedient to its programming, carries out the command, reinforcing what it believes to be true. But Coué offers an alternative. He shows that just as the unconscious can be led into disorder, so too can it be led back into harmony. The key is suggestion, repeated with quiet conviction, penetrating the unconscious like water carving through stone. In this way, moral weaknesses and ingrained tendencies lose their grip, not through suppression, but through redirection. The mind does not fight against its old patterns, rather it replaces them with something stronger. Coué emphasizes that suggestion works best when it is accepted without resistance. The moment doubt enters, the mind splits in two. One part attempting to affirm the new idea, the other clinging to the old. This internal conflict weakens the process. But when suggestion is embraced fully, without contradiction, the unconscious accepts it as absolute truth. In this state, a person can alter their deepest inclinations, effortlessly stepping into a version of themselves they once thought impossible. Consider those who have long battled their own impulses, individuals who struggle against anger, dishonesty, addiction, or self-doubt. Society may brand such tendencies as permanent flaws, but Coué argues otherwise. He asserts that the mind, when properly guided, has the capacity to undo even what appears to be ingrained. The key lies in repetition and belief. Each day, at a quiet moment, a person need only affirm a new reality to themselves, not with force, but with certainty, as though stating a fact already in motion. Every day, in every way, I am becoming better and better. These words, simple and unassuming, hold immense power. Spoken in a state of relaxation, when the conscious mind is at ease, they penetrate the deeper layers of the psyche. Over time, this suggestion is absorbed as truth, and without effort, the individual begins to embody it. The struggle ceases, the mind aligns with the suggestion, and the transformation unfolds naturally. Coué offers reassurance to those who fear their faults are too deep to be undone. He reminds us that the unconscious mind does not recognize permanence. It is fluid, responsive to the images and instructions it is given. If, for years, it has been given the wrong instructions, this does not mean the damage is irreversible. It means only that the new instructions must take their place, and once these new suggestions are planted, they will take root in the same way. There is no force involved in this method. There is no battle. Unlike other approaches that attempt to crush undesirable traits through sheer effort, Coué's method allows change to occur with ease. The unconscious, when given a new direction, follows it willingly, without resistance. This is why his method surpasses all others. It works in harmony with the natural functions of the mind, rather than against them. For those who doubt, Coué offers a simple challenge. Try it. Not for a day, not for a week, but with quiet consistency. Let the suggestions sink in without analysis, without skepticism, and observe the results. In time, what once seemed unchangeable will begin to shift. New patterns will emerge, replacing the old with no struggle at all. The mind, once an untamed force, becomes an instrument of one's own design. And with this mastery, the burdens of the past, those traits once thought to be inescapable, fade like mist in the morning light. Conscious autosuggestion does not merely offer change, it offers liberation. The key has always been within reach. Now it is yours to use. But Coué does not stop here. He explores how this method applies not just to breaking habits or dissolving moral weaknesses, but to cultivating virtues as well. If one can dissolve fear, can they not also strengthen courage? If one can let go of deceit, can they not also cultivate honesty? The unconscious mind does not distinguish between removing and building, it follows whatever blueprint it is given. Thus, conscious autosuggestion is not just a tool for correction, it is a tool for growth. Those who once felt helpless against their own nature find themselves stepping into new, unfamiliar strengths. Where once there was hesitation, there is now confidence. Where once there was chaos, there is now order. And so the process continues, as limitless as the mind itself. There is no final stage, no end to the improvements that can be made. The individual who commits to this practice does not merely change, they evolve. Their thoughts, once disjointed and erratic, now move in a singular direction. Their will, once at war with itself, now acts as one. They have mastered not just their mind, but their life. The great secret is that the world reflects back to us what we already believe. When we carry doubt, we find obstacles. When we carry confidence, we find opportunity. Conscious autosuggestion does not promise instant change, nor does it guarantee perfection, but it does offer something far greater. Control. Control over the thoughts that shape reality. Control over the emotions that dictate experience. Control over the self in its purest form. So as you step forward from this moment, consider the words you tell yourself each day. Are they the echoes of old failures, reinforcing what you wish to leave behind? Or are they the quiet affirmations of something greater? The mind will listen to whatever it is given, and in listening, it will obey. Let your words be a declaration, not of what you have been, but of what you are becoming. Every day, in every way, you are becoming better and better. But what of those who doubt? Who, despite their best efforts, struggle to believe in the words they speak? Doubt is natural. It is the mind's way of questioning the unfamiliar, yet even doubt can be reshaped, softened by repetition, transformed by persistence. For faith in suggestion is not required at the outset. It is built layer by layer until it becomes unshakable. Coué spent years studying this force, understanding its potential, not through abstract philosophy, but through observation, through the undeniable evidence of transformation. He offers proof. Proof that the mind, when guided correctly, has the ability to overcome the most persistent ailments, the deepest fears, and the most limiting beliefs. Coué doesn't speak of any speculation. He speaks of testaments to what has already been achieved. It is the final word, the closing argument in favor of conscious autosuggestion as the key to mastering one's own life. It speaks through results, real cases, real people, real triumphs, and in doing so, it silences all doubt. Coué does not ask his readers to take his word for it. He shows them. He recounts the lives of individuals who had been trapped in suffering, those who had exhausted every conventional remedy, those who had resigned themselves to pain or limitation, those who had been told their condition was final, and yet, through the method of conscious autosuggestion, they changed. They rewrote their realities, not through struggle, not through force, but through a gentle, unwavering repetition of a simple truth. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. Consider the individual burdened with chronic pain. Someone who had tried everything, medications, treatments, therapies, all to no avail. The pain had become a defining feature of their existence, something they had come to accept as part of themselves. And then something changed. Not an operation, not a revolutionary drug, but a thought, repeated day after day, until the unconscious mind accepted it as truth. The pain, which had been as real as the ground beneath their feet, simply ceased to exist. The body followed the mind's command. It would be easy to dismiss such cases as anomalies, as rare occurrences beyond explanation. But Coué presents them not as isolated miracles, but as predictable outcomes of an undeniable principle. The mind directs the body obeys, always. This, he explains, is why so many people remain bound by their ailments, not because their conditions are unchangeable, but because they have unknowingly reinforced them through unconscious suggestion. They speak of their illness as permanent, they expect pain, they anticipate limitation, and in doing so they give their unconscious mind its instructions. This is how things are, let it be so. But just as negative suggestions can imprison, positive ones can liberate. Coué demonstrates this through countless examples, proving again and again that the unconscious does not discriminate between what is real and what is suggested. It merely follows the most dominant idea it is given. The anxious, those tormented by fears they cannot explain, find relief not through suppression, but through replacement. Instead of reinforcing their fear through attention and belief, they introduce a new certainty, one that states without hesitation that they are calm, they are safe, they are free, and the unconscious listens. The fatigued, those whose energy has been sapped by years of mental and physical exhaustion do not regain vitality through effort alone. They reclaim it by altering the message their unconscious has received. They cease to tell themselves they are weary. Instead, they affirm, with quiet conviction, that strength returns to them effortlessly, and in time, the body follows suit. Even those suffering from what seem to be unshakable afflictions, habits ingrained over a lifetime, conditions declared incurable, find themselves transformed. A man who could not sleep for years finds himself drifting into rest the moment he abandons the idea that he is an insomniac. A woman plagued by migraines discovers that as soon as she ceases to expect the pain, it no longer comes. There is no magic in this, no mystery, only the natural law of the mind's influence over the body, a law as real as gravity, as certain as the rising sun. But Coué offers a crucial reminder. Autosuggestion is not a mere experiment, not something to be tried half-heartedly or abandoned at the first sign of doubt. It requires faith, not in the religious sense, but in the unwavering belief that what is suggested will come to pass. The unconscious accepts only what it is given with certainty. A suggestion followed by skepticism is no suggestion at all. It is negation, and negation bears no fruit. To dominate one's mind, one must commit fully to the process, not just for a day, not just in moments of desperation, but as a way of life, a quiet, continuous shaping of the unconscious, guiding it towards health, towards strength, towards a reality of one's own design. Consider the individual who has spent years living in self-doubt. Convinced of their inability to change, they may believe their mind is too weak, their habits too strong. But Coué urges us to recognize that transformation does not require force, it requires repetition. Just as a river carves through rock over time, shaping it without violence, so too does suggestion mold the unconscious mind. The moment one ceases to affirm failure and begins to affirm certainty, the process has already begun. Change is not an effort, it is an inevitability. One of the greatest barriers to mastering autosuggestion is impatience. The modern mind, accustomed to instant gratification, seeks immediate results, but the mind, like nature, follows its own rhythms. A seed does not become a tree overnight, a muscle does not strengthen in a single movement. Likewise, the unconscious requires time to accept new suggestions as reality. The process must be gentle, unhurried, consistent, and when it is, its effects are unstoppable. Coué also warns against the power of external influence. How often do we allow the doubts of others to cloud our own convictions? How often do we adopt the limitations imposed by society, by authority, by convention? The unconscious is impressionable, shaped not only by our words, but by the words of those around us. If we wish to harness its power, we must guard it fiercely. We must feed it with certainty, with affirmation, with unwavering belief in our ability to grow, to heal, to transform. As Coué concludes this final chapter, he does not leave us with uncertainty. He leaves us with knowledge. Knowledge that has been tested, proven, and demonstrated beyond all doubt. The mind holds dominion over the body, over experience, over reality itself, and it is within our power to wield that dominion wisely. So as we stand at the threshold of possibility, we must ask ourselves, what will we do with this knowledge? Will we continue to allow unconscious fears and doubts to shape our lives? Or will we take hold of the great force within us, steering it toward the life we desire? The choice is ours. The power has always been within us. The mind has always listened. The only question that remains is this: what will we tell it? And so, as we reach the final words of Coué's teachings, we are left with a simple yet profound truth. Transformation is not a distant dream, it is a certainty waiting to be claimed. The key has been placed in your hands. The door stands before you. All that remains is to step through it.